Dr. Sajid here again. I'm often asked about the introduction of solid foods in the baby's diet during the first year of life. And the first question is why? So I have already said that breastfeeding is very good for the baby. In the first 6 months, it's a complete life and it meets the nutritional requirements. But during the second 6 months, the growth requirement is more, there is more growth, and the baby requires more and more nutrients which the breast milk alone cannot provide. In addition, the stores of very important nutrition parts that are what we call micronutrients have been exhausted by the time 6 months arrives. So for example, iron is needed after 6 months of age. So in order to meet this growth in the next 6 months, one needs to complement the breastfeeding. So you can continue, you should continue the breastfeeding, but you need to introduce solid foods. So what do we mean by solid foods? We actually mean solids or semi-solids. We do not imply that it should be a liquid food that needs to be introduced. So the consistency has to be somewhat thicker so that the baby gets used to this introduction of this food. So it is at 6 months and it should be semi-solid. You require for this to be clean, and you should always try and prepare it fresh if you can at home. And of course, there are options that you have of having pre-prepared foods also. Now, why again do we need to do this? Why not just continue with liquids? See, the baby has to now develop after 6 months of life. The baby has to now be able to get used to solid foods, and that is very important because the muscles of the tongue and of the jaw here need to be developed further, because now the baby has to make morsels out of this food and has to learn to swallow. This is something that she's going to do for a long time after the first year. So it is very important that solid foods be introduced at this time. The next question obviously is what foods and what are the requirements? Well, foods should be the ones that are readily available. Cereals, for example, fruits, vegetables, and meat. Those are the items, and oils or ghee as we call it here needs to be introduced in the diet also. Now, I have said that they should be prepared well, they should be clean, they should be fresh, and you should not keep this food once you've prepared it for longer than 2 hours. The food should be given with a spoon and a cup and not put in a bottle as if it is a part of milk. This is very, very important because the baby will not learn to swallow and to use the muscles, as I said, of the tongue and of the mouth properly if it is liquid. And then invariably the question, how should we do it? You should start one item at a time, and the one that is easily digestible, because by now, by 6 months, the baby's gastrointestinal system can absorb foods of different kinds. So you should start with something that's easily digestible. You should try and have a baby sit in a proper infant seat at a time when you have the time to devote to the baby, and then introduce it with a spoon. Perhaps maybe 1 or 2 spoons at first, and the baby will try and push it out because the baby is not used to swallowing solid foods. So that's all right, you put it back, and then you keep doing this until the baby gets the feel of it. So the first day 1 or 2 spoons, the next day you can increase it, and then always do it before you give the milk, whether you're breastfeeding or giving formula milk. You should do it before you do that. So before milk, and then the next day you increase it, and then go 2 or 3 days, and you can then go morning and evening. And then anywhere from 3 to 5 days is the time we suggest for you to try the next food. So good foods are, for example, cereal of kind that is available here, fruits such as banana mashed, and you can have some fruit, for example, apples which have been boiled and softened like apple sauce, and different fruits, and then vegetables. So you go gradually. You should also try and introduce meat early, because iron is what the baby requires, and then you move ahead, and this should be done like 2 or 3 times a day. So introduction of complementary food or solid food is very important, and this is the beginning. Perhaps we can talk about some aspects of it later on.